Okay, well since there was a pile of starters at the yard, I figured I'd put a battery across them and find one that still works. This one here worked just fine. I mean, don't know if it'll break down under load or not, but it'll do for quickly starting this thing up. Still got to fix the issue of electronic ignition. Either find a points distributor for dirt cheap or just ignition module. But right now I'm just working on making some standoffs and adapting this starter motor. Just gnawed that little bit there out, and just so it clears the ring gear, and yeah, it should fit. It's only got to last a couple of starts. This engine won't last very long. It's been cooked way too bad. Not going to run coolant in it. Alright, the spacing and alignment can be adjusted with these washers and just twisted out of the way. Right now the end of the housing's bottoming out on the bell housing, so it's a bit tight, but it should work to a degree anyway. Yeah, it's rough as guts, but that's just because it's too tight. Adjust that spacing a little bit. I'm going to go for some heavier leads too. These modern new ones are pathetic. The wire inside there's barely heavy enough to start a lawn tractor. So let's try it with some more amps. This is solid core industrial cable, and that's bloody multi-core. Oh, they're both multi-core, but that's much heavier than what it looks. Well, much heavier. Oops, I think slightly out of alignment. Yeah, it'll work. Just got to lock it in now. Now, something else I've got to mention with this is the tooth pitch is not correct for this flywheel. The number of teeth, or the pitch of the teeth on the drive pinion is larger than that of the flywheel, and you can see it's eating the teeth off it. But for what I'm going to do with this engine, it's going to be perfect. Finish my little torque arm, stop the starter mode from torquing out and disengaging. Sounds terrible, but it works. Brilliant. Now all I've got to do is solve the ignition problem and put this thing on a mount. Get the carbies back on. I'll delete all the emission shit and the vacuum and other stuff. Just get it so it pours fuel in, and try a start one day. It's good. These little bits of metal coming off. I'll get a few starts out of it before it eats the flywheel, the ring gear. Oh, there's the stand I'm fixing up for the motor. The only thing is some giant spiders keep running out and scaring me, so I've got a solution for that. Bit of carby cleaner. Bastards. There we go. Kill them with fire. This stuff burns really well. If there's any left. They're running out of the tubes and out of the power supply. It's a paper feed cabinet from a Xerox. Oh, that should do them. Originally I was going to have it on top of this stand, but it's a bit too flimsy up the top, and that's a lot of weight of engine there. I'd have to run struts out to here to get proper support. But since I've got tall caster wheels off an old medical trolley, I figure this solid base plate will do just fine. It's heaps good. This thing's thick steel. That's all shit. That can go on the trailer then. Scrap. Stepping motor isn't really worth saving. It's all been outside too long. Now this base already had 2 holes for fixed caster wheels to fit into, and no, sorry, those were the swivel ones on pins. These were the fixed caster wheels, so I'm going to drill holes through there and weld nuts on the back. I'm using up some surplus 1/2-inch Whitworth fasteners, 1/2-inch Whitworth tap. I have to find my big tap wrench. I've got a feeling I still lent that one out the other day and haven't got it back. But it's tight, but it's working. This stuff's good too. An American made rapid tap. Makes it much easier. Yeah, it's a two-hand job with such a little wrench. Try and find that big one. There we go, base looks good. Just got a little bit of paint on it. Got to weld all the brackets and things to the sides, so didn't paint it too much. But just enough to make it look tidy. I can't remember where these wheels came from. I think they're either medical trolley or shopping trolley wheels. These ones are brand new. Good quality Falshaw casters. Made in Australia, Melbourne. We use the same Falshaw wheels that work in stainless steel form. All our machines, and pull cover roller frames, end frames. Yeah, that's the stainless version. It's just worn down to the point where the brake doesn't work anymore. That's when we replace them during a machinery refurbish. Well, the brake sort of works. But about $80 each for the stainless ones. I'm guessing they'd be about 40. And that is the massive crack which came off the top of that. Looks nice and tidy now with the ignition leads off, but all this crap here is mostly just vacuum. That's all vacuum. That's all vacuum. That's vacuum. So much crap on these modernised carburetors, it's just not fun to work on. So I think I'm going to be deleting some of this stuff. Hey, it does have EGR. That's an EGR valve. Didn't know that. I think it's an EGR valve. Well, maybe it's not. Oh, hang on, yeah it is. Down there. It did have EGR. So I can delete all of that. Take all that off. Crankcase is just going to be atmospheric ventilation, so that can come off. Trouble is you need some of these lines to get the carby to work properly, so it's going to be a bit fiddly. But I'll start by deleting the EGR and crankcase ventilation. Or if not, I might just find the hoses and just jam them back on. Yeah, overcomplicated. Very overcomplicated. Alright, even with all that crap trimmed off it, I can just see this thing's going to be a nightmare to get working as a stationary engine carburetor. Way too many vacuum ports to reroute and modify. It's got 2-3 solenoids on it, a number of different vacuum diaphragms which have to be actuated at the right time. So I'm going to pull it off and make an adapter plate for this. The normal Stromberg carburetor made in Australia by Bendix. It's off a Holden 186 or something. They put these on 186s, 202s, 173s. They're a standard carburetor, no emissions shit. Just a electric choke, I think that is. No, electric throttle cutout or something like that, rev limiter. So with all that deleted, it's just a basic carburetor. Tiny bit bigger than what I need, but I could probably tune it down to work. Should be good. Alright, finally got the manifold stripped down to something that resembles, well, a manifold that belongs on a car. It doesn't look like something that should go on a space shuttle. Still got an awful lot of vacuum ports. You only really need one for the distributor. But I'm looking at this carburetor here. It's a Hitachi model, and it just looks really overcomplicated. There's 2 solenoids, 3 or 4 vacuum diaphragms, various other little attachments and ports on it. Too complicated. Stromberg, well, compared with the primary of that one, that's the primary. You won't get the secondary open on a stationary motor. That's kind of big. It's off a Holden 202 straight 6. Bit too big. But this little thing here, the brand new Solex that I found in its box in a scrap bin, I reckon that'd be perfect. It's a little bit small, but we're not running this thing very long. Well, let's just try it with no spark plugs in. Most unhealthy start you'll ever hear, because the pinion drive is the wrong pitch of the teeth, or wrong pitch compared with the flywheel. Yeah, it's disengaged. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I just made up a adapter plate with the insulation material. This is just out of a big power distribution panel. Bus bars go through those slots, and it's just a support / insulator. Very hard stuff. Probably the same as what they use for carburetor insulators, like that one there. It's printed circuit board without the copper traces, essentially. So I've got that riser there, and this piece on. Hopefully I'll be able to notch it out so this throttle lever clears it. So as you can see, that's hitting it. I'll just work out, get it as close as I can to the edge, and then just grind all this out so that the throttle lever can swing. There isn't a lot more travel to get, just got to get that screw to bottom out. So it should look alright and work alright, hopefully. Looks like a tiny carburetor, but that thing would flood the hell out of an 800cc single. Easy. I put that on a friend's 800cc single and it just kept flooding. You had to run the thing with the screws turned all the way in and the choke partly on. It just didn't work properly. It's made for a 12 or 1400 4-cylinder 4-stroke. Well, that's looking pretty good. Everything's glued, sealed and ready to go. You can't crank it tonight because all the vacuum holes are sealed up with silicone. EGR port. Still got 2 spare vacuum ports and that one there, so I can add or remove vacuum lines for other attachments if needed. But most of the other ones are sealed, so it should work quite well. Got the sump filled with crappy old oil. Any oil will do. Timing I've got to recheck. This thing got very hot and the timing belt rubbed through the timing cover, so I'm going to make sure they're not jumped. They haven't jumped. I've already adjusted the tensioners so they're right, but I've got to slacken them off and just re-time them if they have moved. There's timing marks on each of these pulleys. Should be a timing mark on here, and there's a timing mark on the flywheel. They all go line up. But that'll do for tonight. I'll work on this distributor thing, get some schematics and other things, and hopefully I don't have to build an electronic module for it. If not, I'll just try and find another mechanical points distributor. I don't see why I can't trigger that off with something around here.